Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zafaroni Fikri Alfatta, and I would like to begin my speech as the opposition first speaker. Now, let's begin with art. For me and for everyone, as we understand, art is something that is subjective. Even though art is something tangible and physical, something that we can feel, something that we can hear, something that we can touch, something that we can see with our eyes, the meaning or the value of art itself is something that is subjective and personal. There's an English proverb that says, "Beauty is in the eye of the beholder." And I think this proverb perfectly encapsulates what it means to view art, as the beauty of art itself is really in the eye of the person observing it. Like, let's say, on one hand, we have the painting of the worldly acclaimed painter Da Vinci, which is Mona Lisa, right? And on the other hand, I have a painting made by a 5 year old, a crude painting of his father, made by a 5 year old. Right? If I am a history nerd, I'm a painting nerd, and I uh, appreciate art the way that art is appreciated everywhere around the world, then yes, I would pick that the Mona Lisa is better than some 5 year old painting made by a 5 year old, right? That is obvious. But if, let's say, I am the father of the child who made the painting of me, while it is crude, I still believe that this painting is better than the Mona Lisa, because at least in this painting it holds some kind of value that is tied to me, which is that this thing is made by my child and that it holds some kind of value that is higher than the Mona Lisa. What I'm trying to say is that what I'm trying to say is that painting art in of itself is something that is subjective, and the value of art is determined by the person looking at the art, observing it, and having tied to it emotionally, right? But does that mean that art is completely subjective? Does that mean that art cannot be judged in any ways? Well, not really, because when it comes to judging art, there are many ways that we can use in order to judge it, right? There are, for example, when we judge art, we look at their technicality, the tedious process of their production, and also their originality, innovation, and some kind of ideas that the artist put behind the art in order to create it, right? What I'm trying to say is that even though art is the meaning of art itself is subjective, there is still a facet of subjectivity to art that is tied to the art piece in of itself, and that is something that we can judge, that is something that we can measure. And the the objectivity of art itself is what I understand to be the main focus of awards, especially awards in the arts or creative department. I believe that art, while it is subjective, can still be judged. Now, why should we judge art? Well, because judging art of in and of itself would actually benefit the artist more than anyone else. 4 points. Number one, the government speaker previously stated that artists do not feel good when they are nominated into worldly acclaim awards and not win. Well, in my opinion, that is simply not true, because even though you don't win a critically acclaimed world stage award like the Grammy or the Oscar and whatnot, you still gain some kind of benefit simply by being nominated. Like, let's say, recognition, popularity, networking opportunities, and also potential financial supports from your backers. Those are opportunities that arise themselves when you are nominated to such an event. And so I believe that even though you don't win, you still reap some kind of benefit. Number two, artists, the government speaker previously stated that artists don't make art for their fans anymore, but they make art for winning awards. And they also claim that arts that are made to win awards are ultimately soulless and devoid of all meaning. Well, like I said before, the meaning of art itself is something that is subjective, something that is in the eye of the beholder, of the observer of the art itself. And I believe that someone that works hard in order to achieve their dream, like an artist who wants to win something, is already an intrinsically already a high value meaning for me. Number three, the government speaker also stated previously that artists lost their identity in pursuit of awards because they make art that are straying away from what they truly are in order to fit the majority notion or what the majority really wants. And I believe that's not true. I believe that identity is something that is fluid, something that can change, and in most artists' life changes during their career, right? So the I believe that the changing of identity in and of itself is not inherently tied to identity loss. All right, you don't lose your identity by changing yourself. Instead, uh, you can become better or improve yourself simply by changing yourself. Like let's say we take example from any kind of artist. If we look at their first work and also their most recent work, of course you see some changes. Does that mean their identity, they lost their identity? Not really, because their identity adjusted to be something better that the public really wants. And in that context, awards is actually beneficial because it promotes the changing of identity and to promote growth on artists. Not and lastly, number four, the government speaker also stated that art is not and should not be competition, and that these critically claimed uh, awards in the art department is something that harms art and the artist itself. And for me, that is not true. Like I said before, art or the intent of making art something that is returned back to the artist. All right, not everyone is making art simply to win awards. And even if artists are making arts for winning awards, these awards are actually beneficial for them because they can further develop their skills, they can evolve their art, and they can evaluate their performance so that one day so that when they come out of this competition, even though they don't achieve a victory, they still gain some kind of benefit by becoming a better artist or a better person in general. So, with those 4 points, I would like to reinstate that awards in the art or creative department is something that is inherently beneficial to the artist itself and should not, will ever be opposed. Thank you very much.